Welcome to my channel. I make these analysis videos once every 3 weeks, so make sure you subscribe to not miss when I upload. Anyway, enjoy the video. I'll preface by saying that Deathly Hallows is arguably my favorite book in the series. Also, the books on the whole are better than the movies. But the movies occasionally do things better. I know, heresy, but it's true. Hear me out. In the attempt to make scenes more concise, often details and nuance are lost from the books. However, sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes, by making a dialogue or scene more concise, the movie ended up making the moment punchier. There's this one scene in the Deathly Hallows book that I kinda hate. Every time I reread the book, this moment stands out like a sore thumb. I'm talking about the final confrontation Harry had with Voldemort. So in the book, this final showdown happened in the second to last chapter, chapter 36, The Flaw with the Plan. The chapter began with Harry just waking up from his dream with Dumbledore. He was lying on the forest ground and so was Voldemort, after which Voldemort got up but Harry remained limp, pretending to be dead. Then, Narcissa checked to see if Harry was alive, only to ask him if Draco was fine. Then she lied to Voldemort about Harry being dead. Hagrid went to pick up Harry, and Voldemort and his army marched up to the castle entrance to meet Hogwarts' army. So far so good. The movie omitted a couple little things from the book, but overall the scene is the same. But from here on, the movie basically just went off on its own based on what the director, David Yates, probably thought was cooler. And yeah man, his vision for the scene is so much better. In the book and movie, once the two sides met at the castle entrance, Voldemort taunted Hogwarts' army, after which, in the movie, Voldemort asked if anyone would join him, which led to two things: Draco's hesitant return to his parents and Neville's speech. In the book, Voldemort already announced that Harry was dead and that they should surrender to him to get the castle's occupants to come out. So in the book, we don't get to see the Draco moment. And right off the bat, I love that the movie decided to do this one last nod to Draco, because it makes perfect sense. Draco went through his little arc throughout this story. At first, we see him during Voldemort's council meeting at Malfoy Manor. Throughout the sequence, Draco was pale and scared. His entire family has been on thin ice with Voldemort for a while. And now that he's witnessed the brutality of the Dark Lord firsthand, he no longer wants to be a part of any of this. Then we get another scene at the manor. This time, it was after the trio has been captured, and Draco was asked to identify the three, but Draco actually pretended to not recognize them. "Draco, come here. Look properly. What do you think?" Harry saw Draco's face up close. Draco's expression was full of reluctance, even fear. "I don't know," he said, and he walked away towards the fireplace where his mother stood watching. "Wait," said Narcissa sharply. Yes, she was in Madame Malkin's with Potter. I saw her picture in the Prophet. Look, Draco, isn't it the Granger girl?" Maybe, yeah." "But then that's the Weasley boy," shouted Lucius. "It's them, Potter's friend. Draco, look at him. Isn't it Arthur's Weasley's son? What's his name?" "Yeah," said Draco again, his back to the prisoners. "It could be." The movie confirmed that Draco definitely recognized Harry, whereas it's only implied in the book.
Why didn't you tell her? Bellatrix, you knew it was me. You didn't say anything.
But there's no way in hell that he didn't recognize Ron and Hermione, so Draco saved their asses from a worse fate here. Then of course we get the scene at the Room of Requirement. In the movie, Draco straight up didn't attack Harry. In the book, he shouted down Crabbe and Goyle for attacking Harry. "Don't kill him! Don't kill him!" Malfoy yelled at Crabbe and Goyle, who were both aiming at Harry. Their split-second's hesitation was all Harry needed. Expelliarmus! So it makes sense for Draco's arc to lead to this moment. This matters because Draco resisted going back to the dark side, and he did this in front of Voldemort himself, which would surely mean his death. While it's true that he later conceded, it's only after his mother, who's not a Death Eater by the way, called him. So the movie solidified Draco's position here. He was no longer aligned with Voldemort, something the book didn't explicitly do. Moving on, we have Neville and the rest of the encounter. In the book, after Neville had a heated back and forth with Voldemort, Voldemort froze him on the spot, put the sorting hat on Neville's head, and the hat burst into flame. But suddenly, Out of the Forbidden Forest came Grope and the Centaurs, charging at Voldemort. In this chaos, the battle was resumed. Neville got out of his body bind, and he saw the sword of Gryffindor gleaming out of the hat. He drew it and slew Nagini. Meanwhile, Harry slipped on his cloak and left to pursue Voldemort. Okay, so I admit, the Centaur part from the book is really cool, but overall the movie still did it better. In the movie, Neville had his little speech in front of everyone. Now, you could argue that it didn't really make sense why Voldemort would even allow this, but I argue that since Voldemort had been taunting everyone since Harry supposedly died, I see this as another sick amusement for him before he kills everyone. I mean, this is how he was smiling at the end. And Neville's speech honestly never fails to make me cry. I love how much Neville understood Voldemort at this point. Unlike Harry, Neville was never taught by Dumbledore, yet he understood that death wasn't something to be feared. And he understood that all Voldemort did were in vain because he never had that something worth fighting for. This moment capped off Neville's story beautifully. And of course, we have Harry coming back to life. As I said, in the book, chaos broke because Grope and the Centaurs restarted the battle, but in the movie, it was Harry's doing. And I think this is better, because we got to see the fear in Voldemort's eyes as his world crumbled apart. He had failed to kill Harry Potter for the second time. The boy prophesied to kill him, just survive Avada Kedavra for the second time. For all he knew, Harry could be invincible, which by extension means that the prophecy was true. Harry will kill him. Just imagine how scared Voldemort was at this point. Also, his Death Eaters were clearly scared as well, since we can see a bunch of them fleeing. In the book, Harry slipped on the invisibility cloak. I don't think Voldemort even knew that Harry was alive. Okay, now we get to what, in my opinion, is the worst thing about this chapter in the book, the final showdown. Listen, all the shortcomings I've mentioned, I can overlook them, but the things I'm about to tell you, man, what happens next is actually baffling. So in the book, the chaos caused by the centaurs and giants and everything else pushed all the wizards into the castle, and the Great Hall became the final fighting ground. And I have to admit, the battle is epic. Reinforcement wizards came from Hogsmeade, the house elves of Hogwarts also came out to help. Voldemort was battling McGonagall, Slughorn, and Kingsley. And of course, we have Molly fucking Weasley taking on Bellatrix. One by one, the Death Eaters fell, with Bellatrix being the last one to falter at the hand of Molly. Realizing that his most loyal follower had just been slain, Voldemort raised his wand to strike Molly Weasley, but Harry cast the shield spell at the center of the hall and took off his cloak. The yell of shock, the cheers, the scream on every side of Harry, "He's alive!" were stifled at once. The crowd was afraid, and the silence fell abruptly and completely as Voldemort and Harry looked at each other and began, at the same moment, to circle each other. "I don't want anyone else to try to help," Harry said loudly, and in the total silence his voice carried like a trumpet call. "It's got to be like this. It's got to be me." And just like that, the insane amount of momentum we had and the scene was killed. For the next 6 pages, Harry went into a massive exposition dump explaining to Voldemort why his plan failed. Everything from Snape's allegiance to Dumbledore's plan to the explanation about the Elder Wand, everything was explained right there and then while the two characters circle each other in the room full of hundreds of people. And the room was silenced save for Harry and Voldemort's voices. Why is this a problem? Because the exposition was put in the wrong moment. The thing is, the battle isn't finished yet. Both characters are yet to cast their final spells, but the moment has lost its momentum. And I think Rowling was going for a high tension moment here, as the two characters circle each other. But I don't think the tension's there either, because Harry was already so confident that he's right, and the more he explained the situation, the more we realize that he won't lose. Also, most of the stuff about Snape and Dumbledore, we as the audience already know about them anyway. We saw what Harry saw in Snape's memory 2 chapters back. Most of this exposition was redundant. In the movie, after Harry was revealed to be alive, Voldemort chased them all over the castle. The two dueled each other, no holds barred. At first, Harry barely managed to ward off Voldemort's barrage of spells. Besides just looking cool, this moment showed how good Harry was at dueling, even though he got overpowered in the end. After the two fell back to the courtyard, their spells met. Elsewhere, Ron and Hermione struggled to kill Nagini because of course they would. None of the Horcruxes had ever been easy, but as they ran out of option, Neville swooped in for the kill. In the book, Neville was the first person ever to attempt to kill the snake, and he did it first try. In the movie, we actually saw Ron and Hermione struggle before being saved by Neville. Harry and Voldemort's spell were broken at the shock of Nagini's death, but the two quickly resumed, only to have Voldemort's spell rebound and kill him instead. I love how Voldemort's body disintegrates here. His soul had been destroyed beyond repair and his body was the product of dark magic. At this defeat, there was truly nothing left of Tom Riddle, not even his soul. With his magic gone, nothing of him would be left. I prefer this much better than the book, where Voldemort's body just fell to the ground. And in the end, Harry did explain why the wand now belonged to him, but he only did it to Ron and Hermione because of course he would. Voldemort didn't need to hear any of this, especially when he was trying to kill you. And I love how Harry destroyed the Elder Wand. In the book, he asked Dumbledore's portrait if the wand's chain of allegiance would break when Harry dies of a natural death. But why the fuck would he wait that long? Anyone determined enough could find the wand again in Dumbledore's tomb and also kill Harry. If Harry wasn't going to use it anyway, why risk the continued existence of the wand and why risk his life by being the master? Damn, this video was long. I hope my case was sufficient. As I said, this is still my favorite book. It's just that the movie did this final battle better. And I think more fans need to admit that the movies have their merits too. Thanks for watching.